Why do some people build wealth slowly and steadily, while others earn a lot but still feel stuck? Because income is not the same as wealth. Most people learn how to make money. Very few people learn how wealth is actually built. And once you see the system, it starts to make sense. Wealth is not usually built in one big moment. It is built through a repeatable process. A process that turns income into savings, into assets, into ownership, and eventually into freedom. In this video, we'll break that process into 6 simple ideas. If you understand these 6 ideas, you'll understand why some people stay trapped in the paycheck cycle, and why others slowly build something that keeps growing, even when they are not working. Wealth is not about looking rich. It is not about buying expensive things. And it is not just about having a high salary. Wealth is what you keep, what you own, and what keeps working for you over time. That is the real shift. The first idea is net worth. This is the basic score of your financial life. It is very simple. Take everything you own, then subtract everything you owe. That number is your net worth. If you own savings, investments, or property, those can add to your wealth. If you owe money on credit cards, car loans, or other debt, those pull wealth down. This is where many people get confused. Not everything you buy is an asset. Some things look valuable, but lose value fast. A new car is a good example. It may be useful, but it usually drops in value over time. So the real question is not, what do I own? The real question is, what is actually growing and what is draining me? Wealth builders focus on things that hold value or create value later. The second idea is living below your means. A lot of people think, if I make more money, I'll be fine. But that often does not happen. Because as income rises, spending rises too. Bigger paycheck, bigger apartment, nicer car, more subscriptions, more upgrades. This is called lifestyle inflation. And it quietly destroys wealth. Because wealth needs a gap between what comes in and what goes out. That gap is your surplus. And that surplus becomes investment money. A simple rule is this: save first, spend second. Not the other way around. When people pay themselves first, they create the fuel that wealth needs. Without surplus, nothing compounds. The third idea is compound growth. This is the engine of wealth. At first, it feels slow, almost too slow to matter. But over time, it changes everything. Here's the simple idea. Your money grows, then the growth also starts growing. And later, that growth grows too. That is compounding. This is why time matters so much. Starting early is powerful. Because time gives your money more chances to multiply. A small amount invested early can beat a much larger amount invested late. This is also why consistency matters more than excitement. Wealth usually does not come from one lucky move. It usually comes from steady contributions, repeated for years. Slow at first, then faster, then much faster. The fourth idea is leverage. This is where wealth can speed up. If you only trade time for money, your growth has a limit. Because your time has a limit. There are only so many hours in a day. Leverage means creating results that are bigger than your direct effort. One form is capital. Money invested into assets that can grow on their own. Another is labor. Other people helping build something bigger than one person could do alone. And today, there are newer forms too. Code can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Media can reach thousands or millions of people without being recreated each time. That matters because leverage breaks the one-to-one rule. 1 hour of work can keep producing value later. That is how income can become less tied to your physical time. The fifth idea is ownership. This is where real wealth usually becomes visible. High income can help. But ownership is what usually creates lasting wealth. When you own part of a business, or own real estate, or own investments, you are no longer just earning. You are participating in growth. That is a huge difference. A salary pays you once. Ownership can keep paying you again and again. A business can grow in value. A property can build equity over time. Stocks can rise and produce income. This is why many wealthy people focus less on consumption and more on acquiring ownership. Because ownership can keep moving, even when you are not actively working every hour. That is when wealth starts to separate from effort. The sixth idea is protecting wealth. Building wealth is one part. Keeping it is another. This is where debt and taxes start to matter. Many people think all debt is bad. But not all debt works the same way. Bad debt often funds consumption. It buys things that lose value. Strategic debt can be different. It can help control assets, or preserve cash, or avoid selling too early. Taxes matter too. If you sell an asset, you may owe taxes on the gain. So many wealthy people try to stay invested for longer. They focus on holding strong assets, instead of constantly cashing out. The simple principle is this: grow assets. Avoid unnecessary selling. Use debt carefully, not recklessly. And protect what you already built. Because losing less is also part of building more. Now the full system becomes clear. First, you measure wealth with net worth. Then you create a surplus by spending less than you earn. That surplus gets invested. Time turns that into compounding. Leverage helps it grow faster. Ownership makes the growth more durable. And smart protection helps you keep more of what you built. In other words, wealth is built when income is turned into assets, assets are given time to compound, and ownership keeps the system growing beyond your daily labor. Real wealth usually looks boring from the outside. It is not built by constant upgrades. It is not built by looking successful. It is built by keeping more, buying better, staying patient, and letting time do the heavy lifting. That is how wealth is actually built. This is Simplexplain, complex ideas simply explained.